your notebook. Next page. Whenever I was your age, as soon as I saw fractions, I was scared to death. I had myself convinced that I could not do fractions. The more I've dealt with fractions, the easier I've come to the realization that they are. They're not difficult at all. Okay? Anytime you are adding and subtracting fractions, the first step is always get a least common denominator. Now, how do you get a least common denominator? Simply by listing the multiples. The next step of adding and subtracting fractions, it is my preference, okay? I would highly recommend it. You do it this way. Maybe you've had teachers in the past that have not had you do it. I just think it makes it easier for you. Once you have gotten the least common denominator, or least common multiple, I want you guys to write the problem up and down. The reason that I prefer that you write the problem up and down is because the next step is we need to make the equivalent fractions to the original problem. Using the LCD. LCD is just abbreviation for least common denominator. Okay? So the first thing we do is we find the least common multiple. That least common multiple becomes our least common denominator. Then I want you to write the problem up and down. Next, we're going to get equivalent fractions using that least common denominator. Once you have gotten the equivalent fractions, depending on what the problem is, you're either simply going to add or subtract the numerator. Huh? Plus or minus. I just make it shorter for you guys to write. A very common mistake that people make is that with the denominators. The denominators do not change. You simply add or subtract the numerators and the denominator stays the same. And then the last thing you do, we're going to reduce the answer, reduce the fraction by dividing the top and the bottom both by the same number. Example 1. One-fourth plus 1/3. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get a least common denominator. We're going to find the least common multiple. So we list the multiples of 3 and 4. Multiples of 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12. Multiples of 4 are 4, 8, 12. 12 is our least common multiple, making that our common denominator.
Can't you just times 4 times 3?
That works on a 90% of the time. I'll give you a second example in which that doesn't work. And if you don't use the least common denominator or the least common multiple, you will always have to reduce. Okay? As you get more and more experience with them, as you do more and more problems, you naturally begin to recognize what the least common multiple is. Okay? So now we're going to write the problem up and down. 1/4 plus 1/3. Okay, so now that we write the problem up and down, we're going to get the equivalent fraction using this least common multiple. So 1/4 equals something over 12, and 1/3 equals something over 12. Something that I like for you guys to do. 3 times what is 12? 4. Write down the times 4 there. Now, we take the top times the same thing. So write the times 4 down beside the 1 as well. It's a visual thing that lets you know that you have taken the top and the bottom both times the same number. And now 1 times 4 is 4. We do the same thing with the top fraction. 4 times what is 12? So we take the top times 3, and 1 times 3 is 3. And now we add them up. We only add the numerators. 3 and 4 are 7. And the denominator stays the same, and you get an answer of 7/12. Example 2. I'll use Cody for an example for example 2, okay? Let's say we have 5/6 minus 3/4. Now, Cody, if we multiply them together, your common denominator is going to be what? If we have 6 and 4, and you said about, can't we just simply multiply the denominators together? 6 times 4 is 24. But if we list the multiples of 4 and 6, 4, 8, 12, 6, 12. We see that 12 is the least common multiple. Okay? What you said is we'll get you a common one and won't always give you the least common one. Okay? So now we write the problem up and down. 5/6 minus 3/4. We're going to get the equivalent fraction using the least common multiple of 12. So 5/6 equals something over 12. 3/4 equals something over 12. 4 times 3 is 12. Take the top times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 6 times 2 is 12. Take the top times 2. 5 times 2 is 10. And now once again we subtract just the numerators. 10 minus 9 is 1. Denominator stays the same, and you end up with 112. We're also going to be dealing with mixed numbers. So, just turn to the next page. A mixed number is just simply a fraction that also has a whole number with it. Now, when dealing with mixed numbers, one thing that you're going to see often are improper fractions. What is an improper fraction? Henry?
Fraction that is, the top number is larger than the bottom.
We never will leave our answer as an improper fraction. So, to get rid of an improper fraction, okay, and I'll abbreviate improper fraction with IF. A phrase that you're going to hear me use many times over the course of the next couple of months is divide the top by the top by the bottom.
You put divided 2 by the bottom.
Divide the top by the bottom. That phrase is going to apply to many different situations. The one situation is whenever we're dealing with improper fractions. For example, if we have the improper fraction 7/5. To get rid of the improper fraction, it says divide the top by the bottom. So all that I want you to do is put a division sign beside the denominator. And now your numerator will become your dividend. And now 5 goes into 7 one time. 1 times 5 is 5, subtract you 2. This 2 becomes your numerator. When dealing with fractions, we won't have a remainder. That remainder becomes your numerator. Your denominator will stay the same. And you end up with 1 2/5. A second example of when we have improper fractions will be if we have a mixed number that's an improper fraction. Yeah. Emergency? Can you wait 2 minutes? Because we're going for pictures. Can you wait or not? Okay. Okay, so now we have a mixed number with an improper fraction. So we're going to get rid of the improper fraction, so we divide the top by the bottom. The 4 goes into 5 one time. 1 times 4 is 4. Subtract you 1. That 1 becomes your numerator. Once again, the denominator is 4. This 1 1/4 is what we got from the improper fraction. So now, we need to add the whole numbers. We already had 3. Now we've created another one with the improper fraction, so we end up with 4 and 1/4. to talk about with mixed numbers today is borrowing. When in math do we borrow? When you're doing what operation? Rebecca? Subtraction. Well, we can borrow with fractions. Come in.
Brad Smith, drum lessons. Oh. Yeah, right.
You're going to take 1 away from the whole number. And then you're going to add the denominator to the numerator. And so an example of this is, let's say we have the mixed number 3 1/5. And let's say we're subtracting. You don't need to draw this, I'll show you what it looks like. Let's say we had 3 whole ones. And then we had 1/5 of another one. Now, let's say we want to take 4/5 away. We only have 1/5 to take away, right? So what we need to do is we need to borrow. We need to combine this. So we take 1 away from the 3, and now we have 2 left over. Agreed? Since our denominator is 5, we're going to break this whole one that we borrowed into 5 sections. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now we've created what fraction? Well, just right here, with this whole one, we broke it into 5 sections, and all 5 are colored in, so what's the fraction we created? 5/5. And here we have 1/5. So when we combine them together, we now have how many? 6/5. So all we need to do is add the denominator to the numerator. 5 plus 1 is, and so that 1 becomes a 6, and we end up with 2 and 6/5. Okay? So when we're borrowing, that's what we're doing. Okay, we're just taking this whole one and breaking it into whatever the denominator is. And then, since that whole one is, all of them are colored in, whether the denominator in this situation is 5, we've created a 5/5. If the denominator was 6, we've created the fraction 6/6. And so then we just simply add the denominator to the numerator. Okay? Any questions? Okay, we need to stop right now because
Hopefully they have like a I don't think they will. They had